Okay, the TVA is giving me major there is no war in Ba Sing Se vibes. Hey and welcome back to They Love. My name is Destiny and this is my kind of spoiler deep dive for Loki for episode 2. These videos are where I discuss my theories for the show episode by episode as they develop. So of course this is very spoiler heavy video. And just to be clear, these aren't videos where I speculate about every little thing like 55, 60, 70 Easter eggs. No, these are just things that I think can realistically happen in the show based on my own knowledge and of course watching the episodes. So let's just get into discussing this episode and my theories. I have some new theories. I'm interested to see what your theories are down below. So first thing, in the episode, when they showed the different variations of Loki, I have a question. This isn't really a theory, but are they from different universes or are they from different timelines? Because for me, I always thought that different timelines creates a multiverse. So it's basically like one and the same, like different timelines, different universes, right? I don't know. That's just what I assume. So seeing the different variations of Loki when they were doing the debrief for the mission, basically, and Loki's in this smart new jacket. I'm thinking, okay, multiverse confirmed. Basically, like I know it's different timelines, but to me, again, it's one and the same. Timelines, universes. That's how I think. But as I said before, the TVA is giving me major there is no war in Ba Sing Se vibes. If you know that reference, you know it, and I love you. But when they have a conversation between Mobius and Gugu Mbatha-Ra's Ravonna Renslayer, I just find it's making me so suspicious of the TVA, even more suspicious if you see my first video for Loki, because no one has seen the Timekeepers or met them, and you just have to believe what Renslayer is saying, that they're monitoring the situation and they're very concerned and they're keeping an eye on it. But it's just I honestly don't trust Renslayer, and I don't trust this idea of the Timekeepers, and I don't trust the TVA in general. Because again, I don't believe, I feel like in some ways I do not believe what I cannot see, especially in a show like this called Loki, where it's a bunch of chaos and mischief. Very suspicious of the TVA. And honestly, another theory that I have like down below, I'm even suspicious of where the Minutemen come from, like the different agents, like Mobius. In the conversation between Mobius and Renslayer, this is again where Mobius has to convince and make sure, basically convince Renslayer that having this variation of Loki is required and necessary, and let him continue, because he kind of messed up their first mission by kind of just talking a lot. And I feel like Loki played his hand too much in that first mission, especially when he said, okay, I have to meet the Timekeepers because they are in danger. I think he played your hand too much, Loki. But later on, when Loki is sent into the library, and he's given some files, but he wants to investigate more, but then he's only given his file because that's the only thing he can read. He can't read any files of the past, the present, the future, of different things. So and all of those are classified by, I guess, the Timekeepers or the TVA in general. In Loki's file, he reads the destruction of Asgard, and it starts off as an emotional moment where he because this Loki, I have to keep on remembering that this Loki did not go through the whole Revengers. He did not experience that. He saw the memories of it, I think some clips, but he did not experience the destruction of Asgard. I have to keep remembering that, honestly. So at first it's an emotional moment when he's reading about the destruction of Asgard and the civilization is wiped out. But then when he reads that there was zero variance energy, it leads to a realization for him that leads into like a little silly metaphor that for me took a bit too long because I understood what he was talking about. The realization is that you can use a big apocalypse to hide because everything there is going to be destroyed anyway. So any variant that does anything crazy isn't out of the realm because that timeline or that universe or whatever is going to be destroyed basically. So, but it has to be something that is sudden, natural, and has no survivors. And Loki, and again, Loki basically ruins Mobius' salad for nothing because I understood about halfway through what he was talking about. And that's why, as you saw in the trailers, that's why they go to Pompeii to test this theory, like how much can they do, and then nothing shows up on when they're monitoring the timeline, nothing. But later on, I definitely, as I said before, I don't trust the TVA, so I can definitely understand Loki's skepticism of the TVA. And he has a conversation about free will and versus chaos with Mobius, and this kind of leads into another theory / question I have. Is that why doesn't Mobius question anything? Like, where do all the agents and the TVA and all the Minutemen come from? That is my main question. I don't have a theory about where they come from, but I'm really wondering, man, I mean, like, are they snatched up from their timelines and have their memory wiped? Like, why is no one questioning? Why is no one mentioning? Why is Loki not even mentioning that Casey didn't even know what a fish was? It could be just a funny joke, but where do all these people come from? Were they variants at one point, but then they, again, wiped their mind, now they work for TVA? I am just wondering. And because there's so many, have you noticed there's so many like 90s references through some of the product placements in this show, at least with Mobius. So is Mobius from the 90s and he was a variant and now he works for TVA, but he can't remember? Because why does Mobius himself not question where he comes from? That is my main question / theory about the TVA agents themselves. But now that they tested the theory in Pompeii, they realized through the blue candy that was in the first episode that was only manufactured, or I guess sold and manufactured between 2047, I think, and 2051. So they look and find a natural disaster that happens in Alabama 2050. So that's when they go and investigate and try to find this variation of Loki. And by the way, I feel like throughout the entire episode, they say he so much, and I feel like a lot of people, even if you weren't really on like the theory train of who the variant of Loki is going to be, like, because they just say he so much, I'm like, it's going to be like a woman or something. Like, I feel like a lot of people already thought it would be Lady Loki, but watching this episode and listening to them say he over again, I'm like, yeah, it's Lady Loki. Like, it's Lady Loki. This is interesting to me because when they get to Rock's cart, it leads to a conversation between Loki and what turns out to be Lady Loki. But at first, she's transferring her consciousness through different people. But I find it interesting. I have another theory, but I feel like it's a theory. I don't know. Again, it's a theory, so I don't know if it's gonna be true. But I feel like I mostly have this theory because I don't. I'll tell you in a minute. But I find it interesting that Lady Loki, we find out, is saying, don't call me Loki, call me Randy, when her consciousness was in one of the people. And they had a funny line with Tom Hiddleston's Loki when he said, I wouldn't treat me like this, or I wouldn't treat me this way or something. And I think it's supposed to be, again, a funny line, but is that a clue? Because I have a theory, but I feel like that I mostly have this theory because I was a bit disappointed with the reveal of Lady Loki, like when she takes off her hood. I haven't even read what most people have, think, but my first reaction when I was first watching this episode, I was very underwhelmed. I was very underwhelmed. To me, with any Loki, I should no matter what the variation is, Kid Loki, Lady Loki, whatever, I should immediately look and say that is Loki, like, that's Loki. And if you've seen Lady Loki in the comics, I'll put a picture somewhere. It's just a big letdown. I don't know what is this actually Lady Loki out? I'm very disappointed. not just appearance. But again, I have to save some of my judgment for our next episode. But if this is Lady Loki, I don't think this is good casting. I don't know, because they're even just from the disposition, the vibe, the way she moved, the way she talked, I'm like, are you Loki? I don't know. And it was just a big letdown for me. I'm like, now I have a theory. Okay, could it be Enchantress because there's still blue energy? But even I feel like my theory is that it's not Lady Loki just because I'm disappointed that this is Lady Loki. You know what I mean? It could be a misdirect at the same time, but at the same time, why would this person pretend to be Loki? And then, but at the same time, why would this person say, "Don't call me Loki," and kind of be dismissive? It's just strange. It's just a bit strange to me. But Lady Loki, the whole plan was to basically blow up the timeline, and she escapes, and I'm assuming that she kind of goes to the TVA, because once she blows up the timeline, all the TVA agents run out, and now the TVA is kind of left defenseless except for Renslayer. So I think that she's going to storm the TVA, honestly, and maybe go after the timekeepers if they're somewhere. Oh yeah, I meant to mention at the beginning of the episode, Lady Loki kidnaps C-20, one of the Minutemen agents for TVA. And when they find C-20, she's like, "Oh, it's real. I told her, it's all real. I told her where the timekeepers are." So, but I have a question. When C-20 says, "Oh, I told Lady Loki where the timekeepers are," is C-20 saying that I told Lady Loki where just the TVA is in general? Because technically, where is the TVA? Is it just stuck in time somewhere, and that's why she needs the location? That's an interesting theory, actually. Maybe it's stuck in the 90s. Maybe it's stuck in the 90s. Maybe that's why Mobius it has so many product placements for the 90s. But of course, at the end of the episode, Loki has a choice between staying, sticking with Mobius or following Lady Loki through the door. And of course, he follows Lady Loki through the door. I feel like I would have done the same thing, honestly, because of course, Loki, you know Loki at this point. If you're watching the show, you know Loki. He has to investigate. He has to see what's going down. I would honestly do the same thing. But honestly, I don't have any major theories for this episode. I do think with this episode, some parts it felt a bit long, because some scenes felt a bit long. Like, I love watching Loki and Mobius go back and forth. Like, I love the dialogue, but and I feel like since some of the dialogue, well, most of the dialogue, almost all of the dialogue, it's just so clever, it's enjoyable, but some scenes just felt a bit too long. I'm like, I need some like action. But again, it's only a second episode, and there's 6 episodes, and most of them are almost hour-long episodes. I think this was about 50 minutes without the credits. So, but longer than definitely longer than WandaVision, and a bit longer than some of the Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes. But those honestly are my main theories for just based on this episode. I think that Lady Loki is going to the TVA or wherever the timekeepers are, and I don't know if it's really a theory or again just my disappointment of Lady Loki in general, but I have to give Lady Loki a chance with the next episode. And again, my main theory, that should be like the slogan of the theory with TVA, is there is no war in Ba Sing Se. I really hope people know that reference. If you don't know that reference, it's from Avatar: Last Airbender, one of my favorite shows, so awesome. But giving me those vibes, definitely those vibes. And again, these are my spoiler related thoughts. I do write weekly reviews for Daily Planet, so when those reviews go up, I'll link my non-spoiler reviews in the in the description if you want to read those articles. But yeah, those are my main theories for this episode of Loki. I did like this episode. Part of me really does wish that both episode 1 and episode 2 came out back to back, like same week, almost like WandaVision did, where it was for the first 2 episodes. But even with WandaVision, I feel like it should have been the first 3 episodes, because I feel like those all, if you watch it, those all really go together. Because I don't know which episode I like more, honestly. I think I like episode 1 a bit more than episode 2. I think that's how I'm feeling right now. How do you guys feel? What are your main theories for Loki? I feel like it's going to get very fast paced very quickly with this next episode, and we'll see hopefully what happens with the TVA. But yeah, I want to know your theories for Loki. What do you feel? Do you think we should have gotten the first 2 episodes then last week? Do you like this show so far? Are you watching it on Wednesdays, or are you not even watching it till like the weekend or something? Because I wonder like how Loki is doing. But they did say that Loki had the most watched premiere, but I don't know if that was in the premiere day or just over the whole week. I'm really liking this so far, and I just really need to see what's gonna happen with Lady Loki.